Tori, it's all you.
I'd just like to begin by saying a quick thank you to the Sons of the American Revolution. It's a real privilege to be recognized by an organization that is so committed to keeping patriotism alive in our country. And I'd also like to thank my history teacher, Mr. Salvador, for bringing his love of U.S. history to the classroom each and every day. Because he has signed this paper, I have the honor of being here today. And now for my essay, which is about Abigail Adams. Throughout the Revolutionary War, signing of the Declaration of Independence, and even in the forming of this new nation, no woman was more involved in the matter of politics than Abigail Adams. Adams, previously Smith, was born on November 11, 1744, in Weymouth, Massachusetts. She was a sickly, frail child who spent most of her life indoors. Because of this, she was able to spend most of her time reading. She used this informal education as a substitute for a more formal education denied to women of her day. In 1764, she married John Adams, a Boston lawyer, and the two of them settled down in Braintree, Massachusetts. The Adams family could have easily faded into the oblivion of time if it hadn't been for the stirrings of rebellion amidst the colonies. Britain and its American colonies were at odds. The road to revolution had begun its long, winding path. The Adams family would be caught right up in this whirlwind of the American Revolution. John Adams spent more and more time away from home as the revolutionary ideals called him to action. Abigail stayed home, taking care of the farm and the family, much like many other women of her day. However, that is where the similarities to other women of her day end. The marriage of John and Abigail was less of the usual women are subservient to their husband's view of the day and more of a partnership. Throughout their marriage, the two of them exchanged over 1,000 letters discussing issues such as that included slavery, their children, women's rights, the monarchy in Britain, and even the Constitution and rights. John Adams relied on her political insight to influence some of his own decisions in politics. Not only did Abigail sway John's political ideas, she also helped keep him informed on the topics back at home. She warned him about the sicknesses and epidemics occurring back in Massachusetts, and was even able to give him information about the British position. She was also able to keep her family safe through this dangerous time. The British were very close to where the Adams family was staying, so much that the constant roar of the cannon is so distressing that they couldn't eat, drink, or sleep. Another thing unusual for women of her time that Abigail did occurred when John was away in Europe. She managed his estates, kept up with her interest in politics, took care of the farm, and even still managed to write long, illuminating letters to John. One of Abigail's most groundbreaking ideals was her view on women's rights. Hundreds of years before women would be able to get the vote, Abigail was writing to her husband in Congress to remember the women. In a time when men were supposed to be the dominant ones, she was writing to remind him of that very fact, that your sex are naturally tyrannical is so thoroughly established as to admit of no dispute, she once remarked in a letter to her husband. Regard us then as beings placed by Providence under your protection and in imitation of the Supreme Being, make use of that power only for our happiness. She reminded John Adams that his sex, men, are prone to become tyrannical and proud, hoping that he'd remember the ladies in the framing of the document. Not only was Abigail fully interested in the plight of women, she wrote about the plight of slaves as well. Both she and her husband agreed that, not only was slavery wrong, it went against the very cause the colonists were fighting for, the cause of liberty. Her interest in the position of the poor slaves didn't stop even after slavery was outlawed in Massachusetts. For instance, when Abigail and John went to live in Europe for a time, she left the affairs of the estate in the hands of one of her father's former slaves. In another instance, she enrolled one of her black servants in school when he expressed a desire to learn. Abigail Adams was a notable woman who had a remarkable grasp on the time in which she lived. Her letters to her husband and her children showed the extraordinary mind she possessed. She was interested in civil rights issues before they gained a mass audience. Everything she did or said revealed a mindset much ahead of her day, a mindset to the future. Her political influence with her husband is set in the very backbone of this country. Her ideals helped shape the nation into what it is today. As a standard for equality, democracy, and strong womanhood, Abigail Adams was a great influence on this blooming nation and should still be a role model for women today.
We have a few things for you.
Okay.
This is a certificate for the state winner for the state of Massachusetts. And we'd like to, first of all, thank you for your wonderful essay. It was thrilling. I mean, 3 judges came up with the same one. It was amazing. Emily's was just slightly behind. It was a shame she couldn't be here. So let me present you with this to start, and we have a couple of other things. Okay, good. Put this back. Congratulations. Joe, come back. Joe?
And what does that say on it? That,
The National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution essay.
A couple things. First of all, we want to thank you. We're delighted to hear from you, and your essays were wonderful. They were great. So come back. It's wonderful to get these. And I'm very sorry that Emmy couldn't be here, and I'd like to send her certificates home with you.
Thank you. I'll take them.
This is Emmy's certificate. And I won't take this out, but I want you to do,
I'll do
want to put it on her.
I'll do a formal
Okay?
presentation in class. Believe me.
Okay.
We'll make a big production of this.
Okay.
That's very nice.
All right.
Let's see, Lord.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you all again. Thank you.
Each year, we're also proud to recognize the accomplishment of outstanding Eagle Scout. These Scouts recognize the principles of our American heritage. They have gone through a long series of merit badges, including 3 levels of citizenship in the home community and the nation. We open this contest to all Eagles across the states as long as they're under 19. And this year, we sent this request out to over 100 Eagle Scouts. The winner of this year's contest is Adrian Stedman. He's a senior at Marlboro High School. He's a National Honor Art Track and Wrestling Club's member. And he's currently vice president of Crew 51 in Marlboro and spends a lot of his time on the water. His Eagle Scout project focused on improving the water quality in his hometown, and I'd like to have him come up and tell you a bit about that. And he also has an interest in drawing and plans to study computer science at Brigham Young next fall. So please, come forward. Can you tell us a few